Hi, today I want to talk about developing a healthy relationship with the F word. Not the one you're thinking about. Yeah, I'm talking about failure. So, most people think of failure as the opposite of success, when the reality is that failure is actually part of success. You can't have success without failure. So, the right way to think about it is to think of success as a process of failures until you get to your goal. Yeah, and there's a good example I can give, which would like drive this point home. Yeah, and that's an example of a baby. So if you if you've seen like a little child who is just learning to walk, you don't expect them to just get up and then walk and then run. It doesn't work like that. What happens is they learn first of all to fall. They learn to stand, then they fall, and they fall a lot, and then eventually, after falling a lot, they begin to walk longer periods and fall less, and eventually they start to walk and then run. So that's exactly the same process we go through whenever we're going through a learning process. Yeah, so for you to get success, you have to fail quite a number of times, and how quickly you fail and how quickly you learn is what will determine how successful you'll be. Yeah, and in life, there's something called the risk reward ratio. So a risk reward ratio is it simply means when there's low risk, there's low reward, and when there's high risk, there's high reward. So if you're aiming for something big, like something significant, something which has got high reward, it means there'll be high risk, and that also means you'll fail more. Yeah, so if you want to achieve anything meaningful in life, just be ready to to fail more. It's part of the process. So reframing the way we think of failure, or reframing how you think about your failure, is going to really be an asset on your journey. Yeah, and this makes sense because great things take time. You can't paint a Mona Lisa in 1 hour. You have to paint it over several years, like several paintings leading to that one. And that's similar way we should always look at life. So one way is one really good example I read about, a really good idea of how we should think of our journey to success. So most people like want when you want something, like you're aiming to achieve something, you want it today, but that's a wrong way of going about things. Like um, a healthier way is to think of it as a journey. Like you're going to, for example, if you want to become a good painter, you're going to paint several paintings, and each of those paintings, you learn something from them. You see what you did wrong, what you could have done better, and you keep on the next day. So play what they call an infinite game. Yeah, so there's like a finite game, meaning a game which ends, and an infinite game. So being there for the long run. So whatever it is that you're venturing into, maybe it's making videos like this or it's writing, like you shouldn't be so caught up in the result. Just be there for the long term, and you look at it in an infinite manner. So like you know that if you're say you're writing today and you want to become a good writer, you're going to write today, you write tomorrow, next week, the other week, and you keep on. It's like a journey. You're enjoying the process and you're learning and you're putting in that 10,000 hours. Yeah, the same 10,000 hours everyone knows about to mastery. And the longer you do that, like the more you look at things as an infinite game, you will pick up so many lessons in the way. And because of that, things will keep on compounding. And if you know anything about compounding, then you know that Albert Einstein said that compounding is the greatest force in the world. And if you think of like a lot of the atomic bombs and nuclear weapons and all these, then you know that that's really powerful. So be ready to do things for the long term. Don't think of the right now. Don't think in terms of the short term. If you have to achieve something great, you have to do it for a long time so that you benefit from compounding. And there's another really profound lesson which I learned from Elon Musk. Yeah, I know Elon is controversial, but he said something profound. He said, if something is worth doing, then it's worth, if something is worth doing, then you have to try to do it even if you fail. Yeah, so put differently, if something is important, then you need to do it even if the chances are that you could fail. And speaking of Elon, there's one like really interesting story of, I think, his journey to success. So he had like two companies. I think that was SpaceX and Tesla. Yeah, so there was SpaceX and Tesla, and he only had $30 million left. So his companies were losing money, and he only had $30 million to save one of them. Yeah, but he couldn't get himself to do it, so he split the money between the two. And fortunately for him, it worked. But the thing is, he took a risk. He knew he could fail, but he didn't let that stop him. He embraced the failure, the possibility of failure, and it worked out for him. So even you, if you just develop a healthy relationship with failure, like you just understand that failure is part of the process leading to success, then you definitely achieve a lot more over time. Yeah, and another thing about failure is one of the things which leads to failure is having doing too many things at once. Yeah, and this is something I struggle with because I'm one of those people who's like good. I learn really fast, so like I'm good at many things. But then there's I think it's a Russian proverb which says that the person who chases two rabbits catches neither. Yeah, so you need to specialize. Like you need to do one thing for a long time to see success. So doing too many things at the same time, poor results. But if you do one thing for a very long time, then you get good results. And after maybe you reach a certain level of mastery, you can then move on to something else. Yeah, so that also makes sense if you think of it in compounding terms again, because um, compounding works over a period of time. So the longer you've stuck with something, the more returns it will give. So even let's say a job, for example, in your first year of your job, you've got that 1 year experience, and then 2 years experience, 3 years experience, and you're gaining value. So even when you go for like new interviews, you'll say, no, you've got 3 years experience. So your earning potential is much higher than someone who's starting. So if you've done something for 10 years, you're much more valuable than someone who's done something for 1 year. So it's the same analogy of compounding. So the best is focus on one thing and do it for a long time. Yeah, and the other thing which usually leads to failure is having a backup plan. And of course, I don't mean be like totally going for risk, like being like ridiculously risky with your life or whatever it is, your career, your finances. No, I mean calculated risk. Take calculated risks. So if you only have one thing to do, you cut out everything else, chances are you achieve it, because there's you're more likely to swim in a sink or swim situation. Yeah, and there's actually a story about I think he was a military leader from the past, one of these great ones. I forget the name, but what he would do was whenever he like is attacking a new area, he would once his ships reach, him and his men would fall off, would get out of the ships, and then they would burn those ships. And he would tell his men that, you see those ships which are going in flames, that's there's no way home. Like you have to win this battle, and most of the times they would win. So of course, I don't know if burning ships and burning bridges is always effective. You have to calculate it based on your risk again. So if you're someone who's got a family and you don't want to do anything too risky which could jeopardize your family, and yeah, but if you're someone who's young, you've got very little to lose, you're not responsible for much, you're still in your parents' house, then why not go for it? You will learn lessons on the way. And that's also another important aspect of failure. So most of the times you don't fail, you just learn. So you learn how to do something differently. Like if you learn your lesson, you said, okay, I did this this time and I got it wrong, so let me try and do it this way. And then you see where you went wrong and you try to do it a bit better or differently. Yeah, and there's actually a quote by Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison is the person who made the light bulb. So according to I think the research on Edison, he failed 10,000 times to make the light bulb. But when people asked him about that. Like, how did you feel like failing 10,000 times? It's like, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 ways a light bulb would not work, and the one way it would. Yeah, so that was a very fascinating look at think like a good reframing of success. It was a really empowering thing. So if you've got a 10% chance of doing something, then it means that if maybe you're given 10 tries and you've got a 10% chance of doing something. So you run through the first time, the second, third, and up to the ninth, then it means the next time you're definitely going to get it. So it's a very good way of looking at life, and reminds me of something. And I'm serious about this story. Like, it reminds me of there was a guy who would always like ask girls out for a dance and a party, and okay, most of the times when I don't know if he was in his right mind when he did this, or he had a bit too many to drink. But what he would do is he would go ask the first girl for a dance. She would say no. He goes on to the next girl, second, and she says no. The third one, no. Then the fourth one, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Then he goes on to the fifth one. But most of the times, based on based on my experience, like observing him, usually within the first five, one of them would accept the dance. So it makes sense for several reasons. So maybe the first one is going to reject him because maybe he's not hot enough or whatever it is. But the second one, like that girl rejected him, so why should I? You know how it is. Yeah, but eventually, you don't know. Maybe there's one girl who's having a bad day, and then like maybe she wasn't feeling appreciated much or made to feel attractive by a partner or for some other reason like that. And then this guy just comes there and he's making her feel like, oh, I'm actually desirable, and she says yes. So you have to try out a lot of things before you're successful. In essence, that's my example, and I don't recommend getting rejected that much. I don't think I've got the strength for that. Like, I never could. That's why I found it so amazing. But if you're someone who's watching this, then maybe you can give it a try. Let me know how that goes in the comments one day. I'll really appreciate that. And I think with that said, one thing I would say is to close this video off is that great things take time. So don't put a very short time limit on something which you're aiming for, especially if it's something meaningful. If it's something meaningful, meaning that it's hard, it's likely to be hard. And so just go through the process, learn from your failures, keep on going. The longer you do something, eventually you definitely get it. And with that, I hope this video will be helpful to you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot with the algorithm. And yeah, like the video. I'll see you in the next video.